So what's up, guys? I wanted to talk to you about basically, seriously, the whole issue with me disappearing from the channel and just being very, very scarce on YouTube in general since really probably the end of November. There was a lot of things going on, a lot of things. I was transitioning out of the military, I was getting out, and we were trying to find a place to stay because we were living on base. We moved into an apartment at the end of November, and what ended up happening is it wasn't as we expected. I mean, day one was a complete disaster when we went there, but basically the first apartment ended up flooding out in one of the bedrooms and partly in the living room when San Antonio had a really big flood one weekend. And so it took them 2 weeks to actually address and really figure out what they were going to do, which was going to be moving us to another apartment. By that time, mold was already growing on the walls. My wife was still pregnant at the time. Katie was still pregnant, so I was really concerned for her health. And so they ended up moving us to another unit. We had to pay out of pocket, but they reimbursed us on the rent, on the next month's rent for December. We got into this new apartment, and mind you, we were in the first apartment from the last week of November, and we were only there for 2 weeks before it rained. It took them another 2 weeks to figure out what they were going to do. So we were there for about a month, mid-December, into this next apartment, in there for like 2 weeks. And then rains really heavy again in San Antonio, and the exact same thing happens, the exact same thing. And by that time we kind of had it, man, and we were about to have a baby. There was a lot of changes. I still didn't even have a job yet. That was my number one issue that I was having, was I could not stand or bear to make videos or really have too much fun. I did a lot of live streaming because I was at home all the time, but I had no motivation to make any videos, no motivation at all, zero motivation. I could barely even get motivation enough to do live streams, but it was just a rough time. That apartment flooded. We begged them to let us out of our lease. They did. But the only bad thing is that we had already paid a second month's rent, and I needed to find another place ASAP. So literally I found a place within like a couple days. And the only big issue aside from that is that you have to put down a deposit. Now the deposit was about the same as the first month's rent or every month's rent. And so trying to come up with the $1,000 for the deposit was just like another blow to the ego and everything else that was going on. It wasn't even Christmas yet, people. It wasn't even Christmas time yet. And so, it was just so much going on. We ended up getting into this place, which you see now, which is 1,000 times better than where we were. I have no complaints about this place. Got settled in. You see my desk is a mess. Well, you can't see that. Maybe if you watch the vlog, you'll catch it. But just getting settled in to this place was a big challenge. Now I got settled in. We got settled in finally. Wife had the baby at the end of January. So mind you, end of January, we were just getting settled in, getting everything moved in, and I had a tentative job offer that I had received back in December, which I was just kind of happy about, but it was tentative because it was a contract job that if they got the contract, then I would get the actual job. So it was tentative on that. And my wife ended up having, giving birth on the 26th of January, and then they called me the day before we knew that she was going to have the baby, and they told me that they didn't get the contract, so the job didn't stand. The job offer was no good at that point. So I was freaking out because, literally, that's the worst news that you can get when you're expecting to start working ASAP, and it didn't fall through. So I was crushed, man. I was really, really crushed, and I was really, really on my last. I don't know. I felt like my sanity was. The sanity was running out. It was just a really, really bad time, and literally the next day, we woke up in the morning. My wife was taking her to work, and she said, "You know what? I don't think I'm gonna make it to work this morning. So can you just take me to the hospital? I want to see if they can check, because I feel like I'm gonna start having a baby soon." So I was like, "Holy crap!" You know what I mean? No job, and now we're having a baby the day after that news. So I rushed to the hospital, and I was just thinking, this is the worst scenario that I could ever think of. And at that moment, I got a call. Literally driving back home, I got a call from somebody that I used to work with on base at the hospital, and they called and said, "Hey, we just wanted to know if you were looking for a job still, blah blah blah." And I was like, yes, I am looking for a job still." And so I jumped on that opportunity, man, and said, "Yeah, I can work." They're like, "When?" I'm like, "ASAP." So they were like, "Yeah, we got your resume and stuff from in-house, because obviously you used to work here like less than a month ago. So we're just wondering if you still wanted a job." Heck yeah. So I actually started the first week of February, and have been working there ever since as a civilian, no longer in uniform. And that was a blessing in disguise, man. I mean, like I said, to know that the mental state that I was in at that moment, it was a bad place. And, God is good. He blessed us, blessed me heavily. And that's kind of the roller coaster that I've been on since then. And my attitude towards others, I guess you would call them friends, who have asked me, why haven't you been posting on YouTube? And you know what I mean, you can't just stop posting, and you got to keep going, and this and that. YouTube is great. I love making videos for you guys, content. I love being a content creator. I love shooting videos, as you saw. I love making tech videos. I love doing anything that involves making content for YouTube. But when real life sets in, and you feel like you're about to be homeless, you feel like you're jobless, you're having a baby, like when real life sets in, you really have to pick your priorities. And YouTube at that moment was not a priority. It doesn't pay me like my regular job pays me. It doesn't provide for my family like my job does. So it had to take a back burner, and I apologize for that. There were a lot of people who left the channel, and basically has almost left the channel dead. And I want to apologize to you guys for the lack of attention to the channel and being as active as I was. And some of you have stuck around, which I'm glad about. But it just goes to show how least important some things are in your life when realization comes into view. And real life was setting in, and like I said, my passion, YouTube, had to take a back seat. So now that I'm actually back in the saddle, what you don't understand is that all that stuff that was happening, it did something mentally to kind of it deadened me towards YouTube, because it wasn't as important. So now I'm trying to get that fire, that spark back that makes me want to start creating again and doing it. Because trust me, I have stuff here that I haven't even touched, and I just haven't had any motivation to do it. I've just been so focused on work and getting my family stable again, as it was when I was pumping out videos, and I just feel like that's the priority at the moment. But I'm gonna be trying to shoot more vlogs. I'm just gonna try to go back to the basics and have fun again. Hopefully, like I said, some of you guys will return. Like I said, my subscriber count has been a constant. You know, for every 5 that I lose, you know, I might get 1 or 2 back. But it's just been on a constant downward spiral. So hopefully, like I said, we can get it back on track and you guys don't abandon me forever. And yeah, and hopefully you understood and you will continue to support me as you have before, and we'll move on and get better and do bigger things. So if you've had enough of me rambling, I have. So I will catch you guys in the next video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't like, dislike, whatever, just tell me why or what you would like to see better. And yeah, catch you guys in the next video. Peace.